What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unfair Sports. And it's your boy Coop here. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to me. And this is one of the cool things that I get to do is to actually come on here and get a chance to chop it up with you guys and have some fun tonight. So I've got a couple of guys coming in here with me here today. We got Jake Merrill. And it's a guy that I think is a really, really good cat. And so really excited to introduce you guys to him. And we're going to be bringing PG back in. So if you don't already, go down there, wipe your feet, because we love those thumbs up, right? Thumbs up are always better than thumbs down unless they're like this. And you can kind of know what that means. So let's bring our boys back on here. And guys, how's it going today on this fair Sunday?
Dude, it's good. It's good. Happy to be here. What's up, everybody? This is one of the first times I think on Unfair Sports for me. So really happy to be here. And it's a special day because obviously it's Coop's birthday. Everybody, Coop's birthday. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Turning 21. I love it.
Hell yeah. Oh, dude, every year. No, man, but I love being on here. Happy to be here with you guys. PG, great to be on here with you again. I love jumping on with you, and that's a pleasure. I'm excited to talk some football. So,
yeah, I don't know why you guys keep letting me back on the show.
Well, based off the YouTube comments, you are an absolute fool. So, but it's always good. No, I mean, I love absolutely having you guys on here. And if you're asking where Jay's at, Jay and Jake Stoya have the same, or George Stoya have the same vacationing process, where it's like 2 weeks of work and then you go on a trip, and then 2 weeks of work and then you go on another trip. So Jay's on vacation. He'll be back here in a couple days. But let's go ahead and get started. So we had the Monday commitment of Cortez Mills. And Cortez Mills, a 6'1", 170 wide receiver out of Homestead, Florida, a guy that's absolutely just he's a playmaker. And, from an all-around standpoint, I really, really love him. So, Jake, I know you looked at that. Did you get a chance to check out Cortez Mills? What's your thoughts on Cortez?
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's a perfect fit for what they want to run. I mean, you can obviously see that in the type of receivers that they're going after. You can look in their wide receiver room right now and see that. But I think you're going to see an offense that is very explosive, but also that's put together in a way where you're going to have balance at the same time between the run game and the pass game. I think when you look at this room in general, just look at what they're doing on the receiving aspect of the recruits they're bringing in, you got to be really excited. I mean, Emmett Jones is amazing. And I know maybe we'll go into that in a little bit, but I'll tell you this, there's a lot to be said about Emmett Jones and Cortez Mills. Phenomenal wide receiver. It's kind of funny. He sits right in that same, like you look at these guys and what they're, again, going after from Oklahoma side, you just got to be really, really impressed with not only are they getting great players, right? But they're getting guys who fit into the specific positions that what they want. And Cortez is one of those guys. I'm excited to see him get out there. So,
PG, you dropped a video. And so if you guys go on and check it out, PG did a couple of videos on Cortez. But PG, give us your thoughts again here on Mr. Mills.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be an absolute playmaker for Oklahoma. And I think you and I were talking about at one point in the Odell Beckham kind of comparisons were being thrown out. Some people have even alluded to a little bit of CeeDee Lamb in terms of that athleticism and what he was able to do at Oklahoma. So, I mean, if you can get a guy that's just a quarter of what one of those guys are, you're doing pretty well there. But Cortez Mills has potential to be a 5-star prospect in this class if he has a really strong senior season and continues to camp really well. So Cortez Mills has kind of been a late bloomer. And if you're Oklahoma, you just keep stacking that elite talent in that wide receiver room. Emmett Jones is cooking.
It's funny because I was looking back at an old class prediction, just the I think over on Sooner Scoop. I don't know if you're a Sooner Scoop subscriber, looking way in the back, and at one point he was like a 10% chance to land in this class, and then him and Marcus Harris got on campus together, and they developed a good bond. And so I'm going to be doing Marcus is in, so he's trying to wrangle up Cortez with me, but I think we're going to do a little duo, and sometimes that can be fun because the wide receiver guys, in the words of T.O., they love me some me. These guys are hard workers, and these guys are both going to be studs. And so I think it's great because it's a cool connection because it's California and Florida. And so pretty excited for Cortez. And I think a lot of people see the CeeDee Lamb piece just because his ability to run after the catch. He also has a really, really, a longer wingspan than, the 6'1" and change that he stands at. So he is an absolute stud when it comes to getting his hands on the ball. And I said it in my video too, whether it's shoelaces, whether it's chest, or whether it's above, he is so disciplined with the hands. And, it's those are the things that you're going to need to get a little bit better at, in the SEC, is not letting the body get in there, because you can't make the multiple mistakes, and, you can't have a simple drop pass. I mean, you got to take advantage of open opportunities, and that's even more crucial in the SEC. Jake, I mean, obviously, as a Bama guy, you could probably vouch for that, because there's great guys who do good on the 7-on-7s. And then when you get in, those windows get tighter and the game speeds up, I mean, you can't let those things go by.
100%. I think it's funny because I say 7-on-7s are great to see maybe a catch radius of a player, maybe to see like their route running, like technique, and maybe their technical skill, like how in depth are they at the route running. But at the same time, I think 7-on-7s are more so beneficial to evaluate like defensive backs, because then you really have to be technically sound and you really get to see the way they'll play in a game. And it's a little different for wide receivers in a game, just from the standpoint that you're expecting to go after that ball and you have a certain area, and then also the pressure on the quarterback. Little different in 7-on-7s, but the one thing about 7-on-7s is you do get to see some technical aspects you don't necessarily get to see in an actual game. So I love that, man. I think it's exciting, and I think with a guy like Cortez, again, this truthfully, the whole group of guys they got are really, really impressed. Very sound. I love Marcus Harris. Marcus Harris, to me, man. And he's a West Coast guy. I'm a West Coast guy. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to see somebody like Marcus Harris. And, man, that guy, he's a worker too. So it's going to be just in general, man. You look at these guys, it's exciting to see for Oklahoma.
Definitely so. PG, I know that you love Marcus Harris. When we talked about Elijah Thomas also, this group, when you've got 5 guys, there's an absolute, great opportunity. So anything else on Cortez from you, Mr. Preston?
Not on Cortez, but that matchup of Elijah Thomas and Cortez Mills is going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's going to be it's good. That room, again, we always talk about the competitive depth. And so, Jake, that game on our show, competitive depth, either has to fake a drink or take a drink, and anytime somebody says it. So,
boom,
doing that. But they've got several different cats in the wide receiver room, and we're going to see some of these guys eventually take their talent somewhere else. But you got to keep stacking the talent, because you don't want to run into the situations where you got a couple injuries and now we're pulling guys from the walk-on status, or the scout team. So before we finish up with the last commitment, we'll do the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about anything from Bama. We saw Lamont Rogers, 4-star offensive tackle, make the pick for Missouri. And so, PG, thoughts on this one, because, this one is there's a lot more that went into this and a lot more that happened in this decision. And, out of respect for, the kid, the family, everything like that, we try to not put that out there when it's not given, and we're not given permission. But give me your thoughts about Lamont Rogers, kind of what you saw as far as your opinion on how that went down, and just obviously what the plan is from here on.
Yeah, I mean, you heard a lot of the rumors about how Oklahoma was getting negatively recruited against, and maybe Missouri was going to overpay Oklahoma, regardless of what it was. From what I've heard, I think the kid made the right decision. I could tell people all the time, if there's a school that's willing to give you a lot of money, it sometimes becomes a bad business decision not to take that money. So For whatever reason, Lamont Rogers actually chose to go there. From what I've heard, I think it's the right decision. Obviously, it's a tough loss for Oklahoma because you were really hoping you were going to get Sean Hutton, Michael Fasusi, and Lamont Rogers. But Oklahoma fans, I think, forget you're still in the running for Andrew Babalola, which sounds like it's 3 schools: Stanford, Michigan, and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's med program, it's not Stanford, but it's up there. So there was a lot of high returns that came out of Andrew Babalola's visit. So, and there's always the chance that you could flip Lamont Rogers if Missouri has a bad season, which, if Missouri loses their starting quarterback, or they lose Luther Burden, that could happen. So I'm not writing anything off the table just yet. I know Lamont Rogers' teammates will be on campus with Oklahoma multiple times, especially Markel Ford. That's somebody that Oklahoma really wants. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. But you know what? I'm not going to fault the kid for going to Missouri because, sometimes you just got to do it.
Well, didn't Missouri too? Didn't they enact like a state law basically that you would get money as soon as you sign? So your NIL kicks in as soon as you put ink to paper.
I think you have to. I think it's if you're in this. I think you have to live in the state of Missouri to do that, though.
I thought it was.
I think I don't know about that one, so I'll go ahead and leave that one there. I think that based off some of the things that came down, you saw Texas with a massive jump up, and then you saw Missouri pop up, and then an A&M piece, and then again, Oklahoma, and then, so some of the decisions. And, if you watch the video, you can, I'm not taking Mama Rogers to the poker table because it didn't look too good from her perspective. But I just say that there is an absolute, there's more to this. And I think that's a big thing that you got to keep in mind is these kids are never guaranteed to play past, they're never guaranteed to make it to college, much less make it to the NFL. So NIL gives them an opportunity to, make some money for their families. And I think that there's a lot of these situations where, some of these players might have children already. Some of these players might have, family members that they need to be taken care of. And so just as a Sooner fan, if you guys just please trust me on this one, like, this is not a beat and ball. This is not an NIL piece. Beat and ball didn't drop the ball, and we didn't withdraw the bag or anything like that. Oklahoma is absolutely willing to do what it takes at this point in time from an NIL perspective, based on reality. So if something gets kind of out, crazy, just there we go. So I'll just leave that one there because we tapped into that Arkansas pipeline one more time for our second safety in the recruiting cycle with Omarian Robinson, and that was yesterday. I asked to maybe do it today so that I could get a little birthday commitment, but I'm glad to have it from yesterday. I kind of signed off for 2 days, but 6 foot 185, dude shows up to campus, and Roy Williams, the real Roy Williams, Superman, gets to have a chat with him. And so that is an All-American. That is a guy who's iconic at the Sooner program. And he was a phenomenal player when he was with the Dallas Cowboys in that era of football. So PG, start off with you. What are your thoughts on us pulling in Omarian Robinson?
Yeah, so this was, I think, one of the bigger gets in this class. And I know a lot of people are going to look at his ranking at the composite being 299 and be like, well, how is this a big get for Oklahoma? And I tell people all the time, you got to look at the offer list for a player, and that's going to tell you everything you need to know about a player. Because there's guys that are 400, 500 in terms of rankings, but only have offers from like some of the most elite schools in the country. Omarian Robinson has schools from offers from like Oregon, which was Oklahoma's, I think, biggest competitor outside of Arkansas. LSU, who claims to be DBU, same thing for Texas, but you got Georgia, you've got Florida, you've got Auburn, right? You've got all of these great defensive teams in there trying to go after a safety. Like, they've got to be one of the best safeties in the country at that point per an evaluator standpoint. And I hate to say it, these sites do a great job by evaluating players, but these coaches probably do a little bit better of a job. They see something maybe the other guys don't see. Hence why sometimes you see guys that are lower on the totem pole that end up booming and being first round picks later on, and had a bunch of offers from really big time Power 4 schools. So Omarian Robinson, he's a guy that I think does really well in zone coverage. He's a guy that, he's going to go up. He's going to try to fight for the ball every single time. Omarian Robinson's a really good get for Oklahoma. Like, you landed the top 2 players in the state of Arkansas, and Oklahoma has not recruited that state well, and it's your neighboring state. Going into the SEC outside of Texas, you really need to be able to try to go into these neighboring states and land that top tier talent every single year. I mean, obviously Texas is important, but my gosh, how much top tier talent do they have? Like, you're not going to be able to go in there and just run the table in that state.
Yeah, Marion Robinson is a huge win. Huge win. Expect his ranking to jump through the year, number 1. That is going to go way up. If you looked at him at the, I want to say it was Rivals, or who did it? Who was the 5-star showcase that just was
Rivals.
in Jackson?
Rivals.
Rivals. Yeah. Rivals. Omarian Robinson won the defensive MVP, and he was locking people down. So if he wants to, and they, you know what, let's be honest with you, he's the perfect safety for what they want in this defensive system. Right, this 3-3-5 will rotate between a 3-3-5, 4-2-5 hybrid system, right? That they run between BV and Alley. They run a pattern match. Okay, they run quarters pattern match, and I'll tell you right now, like, Marion Robinson is the dude you want in a pattern match zone type defense, right? He's smart. He plays the field really well. He has a good feel for the field. He's able to work through his progression as a safety. That's really important, being able to see those things from your 1, your 2 to 3, right? And understand like where your assignment is. But on top of that, being able to partner in general with those DBs and do a really good job of the pass offs. I think that's where Omarian, like, I mean, he shows it just in the Rivals showcase, but he shows it in his game all the time. Not to mention, the dude has a mindset of a hunter, right? I want a hunter at safety. Okay. I want a dude who's going to come in and and take you out. The mindset being built at Oklahoma right now is ferocious. Ferocious with grit. I mean, they're a bunch of badasses. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I'm excited. Omarian Robinson is one of my favorite players in this class from that safety position. I watch those just because that's what I played. So for me, safety is a big deal. I really pay attention to who's going after who. I love that they picked up Omarian Robinson, and I think his mindset fits perfect for what they're doing.
And if you guys are just joining us, once again, just thanks for hopping in today. And I asked the family, hey, let's do a little something early. So Jay's going to be out of town. I gotta run the pod because there's stuff to talk about. So pulling up here, and Jake Merrill is a Bama guy, but Jake also is a coach. He understands the position. He did play football. So when you hear him break down, that's why I wanted Jake to come on, because the rising tide for Alabama fans, the mutual respect, because he's going to come on here and he's going to talk actually ball instead of just main opinion piece. And as we continue to just want to, give you guys great content, we want to, hear what an actual intelligent Bama insider thinks about this class and about, Oklahoma in general. So, but yeah, with Omarian Robinson, he is just an absolute, he's just another one of these guys in this class, in this position. Brandon Hall, again, I know that we have 2 coaches right now that we're not going to say this guy deserves a raise at the moment. But Brandon Hall is another one. Him and what Valai's doing at cornerback, and then what Emma Jones is doing at wide receiver, it blows my absolute mind. So just an absolute, just a lineage being developed. And I think if you rewind a few years ago, I wanted to just really point out that a lot of people thought that when Billy Bowman committed to Oklahoma, he might be a guy that changed the aspect of how Oklahoma is seen in the defensive backfield, because we've seen some years to where you have such great, athletes like Zach Sanchez, Jordan Thomas, Parnell Motley, a lot of these guys who really showed up and they looked, DJ Graham looked really, really, really good. And then there just was not the increase year to year. And so now we go into this year with Robert Spears Jennings, and I saw it in the comments earlier. The safeties are putting some work in the offseason. Robert RSJ looks massive. Billy Bowman is now back in and doing, after his surgery, he's doing everything and he's up and working. And then you also have Peyton Bowen. now you've got the freshman, you've got Reggie Powers III, and I do not, I don't pimp Reggie Powers because his pops is a friend. I do because this guy is an absolute stud. And Michael Boganowski coming in too, and there's many others. And so this lineage of safety play is something that we kind of lost, in the mid 2000s. And so Omarian, I heard a Brody Poole a comp with Omarian. I heard somebody say like Sean Taylor light. I always back off on any of the Sean Taylor and Ed Reed because those guys are just outer. They were aliens. Like,
well, their bodies are like completely different, right? I mean, like you have to think of like a body pro. I don't like giving player comparisons. I'm going to be straight with you guys.
Yeah,
I've never liked doing it because I don't want to put that out there. That player should play like this guy. I want to see technically from a breakdown of how this dude does he fit the system, and does he have room for growth, right? Does he have room for growth? Because if I give player comparisons, then I feel like I'm trapping him into a box. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, it's all good though. But I got to say, Marcus Wimberly too is Arkansas guy. And
it's two of the top 4 players in the state of Arkansas. And I've made a PG, for a fact that I think Marcus Wimberly, when I grow up, I want to be like Marcus Wimberly, because just talking to that kid, he is a phenomenal human being. And that's more of these people that are getting brought into this team are just absolute, amazing character people. And so PG, 2 of the top 4, players in Arkansas, both of these guys from a safety perspective. What do you see from these guys as far as coming in and competing early? Again, this is their class of 25. They're about to start their senior year. But do you think that these are guys who are actually going to be, big time players at Oklahoma?
I think they're going to be big time players at Oklahoma. I think we're getting towards the end of the road, though, of seeing like freshmen playing their first year at Oklahoma. I think Brent Venables has enough guys in the program now and has depth to where, he's got enough second, third, and fourth year guys to where he can let his freshmen sit like he likes to do, let them develop, let them get in the weight and training room, and then play them their second year. Obviously they might see some late game snaps, some really late rotational snaps, or, in those games against like Maine, right? Like they might see some game time there, but a lot of them will end up redshirting. But no, I think both Omarian Robinson and Marcus Wimberly will see playing time. I mean, you got to think about it. You're losing Billy Bowman this year. Next year, you have Robert Spears Jennings. I believe, is Jaden Rowe going to be draft eligible, or is he?
I mean, I think he needs to be play eligible.
Well,
first.
Yeah, I mean, you've got guys that are draft eligible at this point that are going to be leaving that room regardless. So there's going to be room for them to step in and have time to play. So, Marcus Wimberly and Omarian Robinson, they're going to be big time contributors. I will say though, I might be, and I love Marcus Wimberly. I'm right there with you. I might like Omarian Robinson a little bit better, though. I think out of the two, he's probably the more dynamic athlete. But Marcus Wimberly at 6'1", 200 pounds, like he's just as good, though.
Yeah, definitely. And so still yet on the table, actual players that Oklahoma has the opportunity to reel in. Let's start with Cade Petchak, because Petchak is still one that he is a little bit of a tweener guy, because he's a guy who could put a few LBs in and play a hybrid, inside technique. And so I think that right now he's floating in the 260, 265 range. So he is still, and PG, do you know date-wise, what does he have a commitment date yet?
He doesn't. I've heard a couple things, and I've been saying probably about mid-July is when I would expect. So probably here by the end of next week, maybe.
Okay, so you've got Petchak still on the fence. Christian Jones, who OU has went hard at, and then it seemed like that kind of went away, and it seems like now this is another guy that now crystal balls are starting to kind of come in from all over the country. So we saw a few more of those. So it's kind of easy to say like let's pull the trigger, but now in the NIL era, and when we are going to be at this spot. Until Jay says it best, until the pen is on the paper, like you never want to go ahead and say like, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be here. But Christian Jones trending towards Oklahoma. Jake, have you taken any time to look at Christian?
Yeah, I really like Christian Jones. For a minute there, it's funny, I brought it up maybe even a month ago, but with Christian Jones, because I mean, there's that back and forth. Basically, it's a Nebraska-Oklahoma battle, right? And it's like, okay, is he going to go? Because Nebraska's been making strong pushes all over with everybody, in the craziest ways. You got to give Rule a lot of props for what he's doing at Nebraska, 100%. So, but I really felt like with Christian Jones that his playing style fit what BV wants in a linebacker, right? And that's like the linebacker. You want to talk about linebacker? That's the baby, right? That's that. Like if we want you at linebacker, like there's a reason for it, because that's like what I cherish and I love from BV, from Zach Alley, who coaches them, right? So I mean, they're going to focus in exactly on the key dudes they want. And I think you got to feel really good if you're a linebacker being offered by Oklahoma, and because that means the head coach definitely approved that one.
Definitely. And we saw some pivots too, because from another Christian Thatcher was a guy that looked like was going to be in the class, and he pulled the trigger and went to Utah here just a couple weeks ago. And I still have conversations with Christian, but it was when they came in and Zach Alley took over. His family enjoyed Ruth, and so Christian Thatcher went away. There's been a couple of pivots. I know with Ian Achor going to SMU. I do know that the staff made a slight pivot away from him, kind of last second. PG, you've been kind of chasing Christian Jones for a while. What are your thoughts on this? And
yeah, so it was interesting. I was right there with you, right? I thought we'd kind of moved on from Christian Jones for a while. And a lot of that was just, reaching out. Kid wasn't really being super responsive. Usually when that happens, the kid's probably trending away from your school a little bit. Then we got to kind of chat up a little bit. And after Zach Alley came here to Oklahoma and things kind of settled down, Christian Jones and Oklahoma were right back on the table, because there was kind of this lapse in communication. And I think it was Zach Alley being integrated into the program, and basically being given this list of offers that Oklahoma's already thrown at a linebacker and saying, start with this, figure out if there's anybody in here you want. We'll figure out where we're at with that kid. And then if you want to make additional offers after that, make additional offers. I'm assuming that's what happened, because you saw additional offers come out a little bit later. So Christian Jones ended up coming back to the table. But when I talked to him back in January, we've had many conversations since then, but he said he wasn't looking to commit till the end of his senior season, which I thought was a really long timeline for a guy like that. And I'm kind of getting the sense that the timeline is going to be sped up a little bit, probably before his senior season starts. So I would say sometime maybe late July to early August, we would see something from Christian Jones. But, he really likes the soul mission here. He says it gives him an edge over any program, which we've heard that many times with recruits in Oklahoma. So, yeah, no, Christian Jones would be a really good athlete for Oklahoma. And 100% when you go watch his film, you look at his profile, like he is a typical Brent Venables linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really smart.
Yeah, and you bastards are the ones who took the guy that I agree. Luke Metz is outside of Peyton Pierce, he was. That was a guy that I really, really wanted. So,
Eric, I think we were going to get him too. I think we were going to get him Coop.
I can see it.
No, Jake, Luke? I want to tell you this. So I was talking to Luke. We had him on the podcast and everything. Right after he got his offers, and he was like, I was like almost certain this kid was coming to Oklahoma. Yeah. And then not even 48 hours later, Georgia, Bama, all these offers. And it's like, okay, so this top six that I just put out, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
That ends up being the case, especially when, Luke is such a great dude from a standpoint of his energy. He would fit good in any program he went to. I think it was, it's interesting when you're going through the recruiting process, and for him having that feel for, a lot of kids, they grew up seeing Bama win, especially in this era, right? These 25, 24, 26 guys, they're going to be like, all I know is like Bama being the greatest. And as we continue through the future, it's going to be interesting to see if that's continuing maintained, right? But I'll tell you, it's interesting to see when these guys go through the process, though, of because Bama got loaded with linebackers, and I'm going to tell you right now, I do not think they're done. I think there's probably one, possibly one, maybe two more, but for sure, probably one. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of as they go through, like who sticks with the class, even no matter which class it is, what school it is. The recruiting season is not done. Now it's just about to fall on the shoulders of another part of the staff. I don't think people realize that, is that as soon as this end of the month hits, the recruits, you better have a really baller recruiting team and a really baller player personnel team, because that's where the weight of the maintaining your class falls on. You know what the coaches are doing? They have to win. They're focused on winning with their current roster. So yes, they're shouting out. They're saying, "Hey, we love you. Hope everything's going good, but we can't give you the same attention that you just got prior to this." So it's interesting to see how classes stay together, right?
Definitely.
And with Luke, it will be interesting to see from his standpoint, just I guess how. I know he's in with Bama, but he would have been great for BV in the system that they have. That's why I'm high on like Christian Jones. I mean, Dawson Merritt would have been another really good one, because they love those smart linebackers.
Dawson Merritt,
man.
I think he's the best linebacker y'all got right now in your class.
Dawson is just overall very sound. I mean, his skill set level, like how smart he is, dude, he is sound. Woo.
But I mean, you guys got so many linebackers that we were going after. Dawson Merritt, Luke Metz, we were in a really good spot with. Jaden Harmon. I remember when we offered him, like we were in a good spot there, and then Alabama swoops in, like, and then Ty Jackson. I think you guys will probably get him too. He's really good.
I feel good about Ty.
Definitely so. And then the last one, we kind of talked Andrew Babalola. Babalola, just shake the magic 8 ball. That's going to be an absolute piece where we just don't have, a good read on it. The business aspect and the education aspect is absolutely just that is a huge piece for him. There's still the lean for Stanford. PG quickly on Babalola. Do you think that this is still a legitimate option?
Oh, I think it's a very legitimate option, but my head hurts trying to cover this, because I'll talk to 2 or 3 people for like a week that say, "Oh yeah, like I think he's in," and then you'll talk to people that were with and around Andrew Babalola on his visit. They go, "Yeah, he had a really good visit. I don't know if this kid's in though. Like he didn't commit," and I'm like, so where does this kid sit? Because, I'm hearing from other really good sources he's committed, and other people he's not. Like, I think with Andrew Babalola, it's coming down to Stanford, Michigan, and Oklahoma. And again, like it's that med school thing. And Oklahoma's med school offering is not that bad. I think, you just got to have some of these other kids at Oklahoma that are going into very specific fields, be able to sell Andrew Babalola and his family on the idea of, yeah, like you can come, you can progress your career, your education here, but also you can be developed into a really good potential NFL football player and make just as much money over there. And then post NFL career, if you still want to go do whatever you were getting an education on, right, you can come back and finish that education and go pursue that as well.
Yeah. Fasusi, Michael Fasusi, again, his boy, his running mate, Sean Hutton is in the fold. That is a major piece. And I do say this is we did not land Rogers this weekend, but the amount of L's that Texas is taking, it has been absolutely just mind blowing. And I don't even want to get into that. So, any Texas guys that are out here watching, it's, at this point, like it's like watching one of those videos to where people are, beating up somebody in the street, and then it just continues. You're like, all right, guys, it was entertaining for half a second, and now let's stop. Like, why is this necessary? So it's kind of getting to that area, and so I just absolutely just go, all right. So Fasusi is going. This is potentially a plug and play at any school in the nation. And Jake, I want to get your thoughts on Fasusi, because PG and I have been very, very, very clear that, the Michael Fasusi he's going to demand and command a lot of money. The relationship has been there for a long time with Fasusi. I don't think Fasusi is going to be 100% made a decision on anything that is, family related or anything like that. I think that he has the great relationship when he talks, PG, I'm stealing your line here, but when he talks Oklahoma, he talks about the entire staff. He talks about Bill Bedenbaugh. When he talks about other schools, he doesn't really get into the, their offensive line coaches, and it seems more macro conversational. So, but what are you getting in Fasusi from an offensive lineman and, as a technician? Because that's what I see as somebody who is just absolutely technically sound and has a phenomenal athletic pedigree.
It's interesting. I think you look at just overall like the top guys offensive tackle in this class, right? Whether it's Fasusi, whether it's Babalola, whether it's Ty Haywood, whether it's Sanders Jr. I think you look at all of them, they kind of all fit similar molds for the most part, but granted, some are a little more developed than others. Some will take a little more time to develop. At 6'5.5", 300 pounds, this dude is a big dude. I mean, he can move. He runs at what, 5 flat 40 roughly? Like, in general, I think a guy like this, when you put him on the line and he can come in, especially under a guy like Beanbo, if he could get in there, he's an immediate like player, right? You can really look at him and say, okay, this guy has the tangibles, everything we need with the right coach who can develop him quickly. Let's put him in. Let's stick him in there. Let's mix him into this line and start getting him that playing time. This guy's like a long-term dude with a high overall ceiling, where you're probably going to see it if he goes to the right school. He's a top NFL draft pick, top 10, top 15 NFL draft pick. So again, it's all about development and going to the right place for him. With his size, his athleticism, he's going to fit really well in the system that they're going to run under Seth Luttrell, which is, again, you're going to see. It's funny because everyone wants to associate Seth Luttrell with just an air raid offense. That is not the case. The guy was a running backs coach, everybody.
Yeah.
He's going to have a really good balance, but you are going to see a powerful passing attack, but he's going to have really good balance. A guy just like this with Fasusi, that is somebody you want. You already have Foje, I believe it's his last name.
Ryan
okay? Foje. And again, with Afalava. Okay. I mean, they've already done a really good job with some of these key pieces in the class. Adding somebody like Fasusi or even like a Babalola, that would just be like, that would make it perfect. You would have exactly what you need for this class. Maybe one more interior guy, maybe, but you're already at 21 scholarships. So I don't know how many they're going to take this year. You guys might have a better idea than me. Roughly, it's typically between 25 to 28.
25, yeah. 25 is kind of the number you're looking at. And maybe like if you get interest later in the season from somebody, I'm not going to say any names, because I think that with Omarian Robinson and Wimberly in the fold already, I don't think that you mess around with that and pull Jonah Williams if that becomes a situation. I still think that similar to the Kyler Murray situation, Jonah Williams is not going to command that money in the NFL as a high draft pick. So that baseball, if he goes, top 10, top 15 in the MLB draft, he's that's going to be a harder turn down than what Kyler saw, because Kyler knew as an NFL quarterback, that's where all the money is. That's where you're seeing these $40-50 million a year contracts at this point. Yeah. So, but the point is I think that you're going to be right around that 25 range.
Yeah. Okay. So you got what, roughly 4 left. If you, because I will tell everybody this, some scholarships are like, okay, we have 100% given you the scholarship for some kids. For other kids, it's like, we've given you a scholarship, but if something happens along this way, then we have to withdraw that scholarship. That does happen. Sadly, it's just the name of the game. If you're finding somebody who fits your system better, it's just the way it plays. You're not trying to dismiss kids, but at the same time, you're trying to say, hey, we want you to be successful. If we bring this kid in, this puts you in this position, so maybe you're better off going this way. It looks like David Sanders is about to announce his commitment on August 17th. So that's kind of interesting too, because he's the number 1 offensive lineman in the nation considered so-and-so. But I think, again, a guy like Fasusi, perfect for this system. Absolutely perfect. I mean, literally. God, they're doing a really good job of identifying the guys talent-wise, but also who fit what they want to do.
Definitely. Chicken, thank you, man, for the $20. And again, everybody, if you're pulling up, hit that like button. We always appreciate the likes, and subscribe also if you have not already. And the sharing part. Sharing is always great too. Double thumbs up for the sharing. So Chicken, thanks for the $20. I appreciate that. PG, anything else on our buddy, Mr. Fasusi?
Not a lot. Just waiting on an official announcement date. I know we've heard some rumors on different dates. Right now, I'd tell everybody to wait till August potentially. Never know. He could drop it sooner if he wants to shut it down. I know Susie's getting a little tired of the recruiting process. I do know that. So
it wears on him. I mean, that was one of the conversations that I had with Darius Afalava was it's just a lot. And when the phone is absolutely buzzing, like today I'm in church, I have to put down my phone on because Twitter just by itself during church is tough. And so on my birthday with the Facebook, I don't really do Facebook very often, but getting hit up there, it was just nuts. And that's this guy, and I'm not anything. So I'm not an absolute stud offensive tackle who everybody wants. So but let's get into some opinions and insanity here, because we are still in list season, and the list season is always full of fun opinions because people just want to. I don't know what it is. I don't even know. I don't want to do lists. But here is SEC Mike's 2024 SEC quarterback rankings. There's a lot I want to say about this. So if you guys are in the chat, give us your opinion on this, because I mean, there's a lot of pieces in here that kind of blow me away. But Brady Cook at number 1. Jake, you don't have to dig through it here, but being a Bama guy, being an SEC guy, do you see anything on here that absolutely stands out as massively underrated, or hey, listen, I respectfully disagree that person should be in the single digits area?
As I look through this, Brady Cook's an interesting one. I don't know if I would put Brady Cook as number 1. Jalen Milroe, just based on what everyone says and everything, I understand why he's ranked where he's at 100%. I think he's going to be way better, but that's like projection based. You're talking like from last year, looking at, I do think Graham Mertz, like Nico Imalava, all right. I have a hard time always saying his last name. Typically, I'm good at that, but yeah, Nico. But I don't feel like he should be ranked that high. The guy hasn't done a whole lot. Like, hold on, time out. Don't put these guys up in these top rankings, even in like the top 10. Like, I think it's fair where Jackson's at, just because he only played 1 game, right? Like, I mean, you can't take these dudes and put them. You got to see what they've done, right? So like I would put like Graham Mertz had a phenomenal season last season. I would actually put him higher. He did very, very good. He got over 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, like 3 turnovers. That's impressive.
He's a very good quarterback.
He's doing a good job. I think Carson Beck, in the end of the day, like based on what he did last year, I would put him at number 1. I mean, let's just be honest. I don't know if I'd put Jackson Dart at 2. Quinn Ewers, I mean, he's probably fair enough. He's in the spot that he deserves, I guess. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you're close with some of these, but some of these other ones, you got to be like, whoa.
Definitely. PG.
Yeah. So I actually went through earlier while we were talking before this started, looking at the list. I kind of went through and kind of made my own. So I've got Carson Beck at number 1. He is probably a top 3 pick in the NFL draft this year. He threw for 3,900 yards last year, 72% completion percentage. And out of my top 5 quarterbacks, he threw the most passes and had a 72% completion percentage. Carson Beck, with all the weapons he's got around him at Georgia, he's the best quarterback. Now, Jackson Dart, I have him at number 2. I think with the system that Lane Kiffin has him in, I just think it equals success. And he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Like, he takes care of the ball. You want to see his touchdowns go up a little bit. But I mean, him and Quinn Ewers, I think Jackson Dart is a little bit more athletic, but very similar when you look at him in terms of stats. But just in athleticism, I'm going to put Jackson Dart at number 2. Connor Weigman, I actually have at number 3. I think people really forget about this kid. Before he got hurt last year, yeah, he threw 68% of his passes on 119 attempts. Connor Weigman was one of the best quarterback prospects in his class. And Connor Weigman is a projected top 10 pick. So it shocked me a little bit to see him have him at number 9. Again, with the weapons Texas A&M is going to have around him, Connor Weigman's going to have a very good season and is going to be probably one of the sneaky candidates in the Heisman. So I've got him at 3. But I really went back and forth with putting Graham Mertz at 3. I have him at 4. But as you said, Graham Mertz, very underrated quarterback, came from Wisconsin. He only threw for 2,900 yards last year. But again, 72% completion percentage on 358 attempts. It's not like he threw a small amount of passes and had a high percent. No, he takes care of the ball. He's able to get it to where it needs to go. I really like Graham Mertz as one of the best in the SEC. Jalen Milroe, I have at number 5. Now, I do want to say, when I look at QB rankings right now, I look at them as going into the season, this is what they are. But by the end of the season, Jalen Milroe could be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC. And I say that because I think, what's his name? The head coach. DeBoer's system is going to benefit Milroe a lot more than what he was in last year. So I would say Milroe is one of those guys where I think we could turn around at the end of the season and he's got 3,200 yards, 30 touchdowns. I kind of have like a Jalen Hurts type of season that he had in Oklahoma. I've got Quinn Ewers at 6. I'm not high on him at all. I know he threw for almost 3,500 yards last year, but at times that dude is just not a good quarterback. He is not consistent. So I'm not going to put Quinn Ewers that high. I've got Brady Cook at number 7. And the only reason why I've got him this low is I haven't seen him do it without Luther Burden. And so you kind of wonder, well, how much of his success is in relation to Luther Burden? A lot of quarterbacks could have similar success with Luther Burden. He's just that. I mean, Luther Burden's going to be a top 10 pick this year.
Yeah.
I've got Garris Nussmeier right behind him. Again, a guy that I think has a lot of upside, a really high ceiling, but we just haven't seen it yet out of him. And then I've got Jackson Arnold and Nico right there in those final 2 spots. With Jackson Arnold and Nico, again, they're just unproven. You don't know what you're going to see, but I can guarantee you they're going to be better than anybody else at the bottom of that list. But I don't know how Peyton Thorne is number 14. He should be 16.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
This list is full of guys that there's so many ifs, right? With Missouri's schedule, I think Brady Cook is a good quarterback. He is a great quarterback. He's got an NFL pedigree, and there have been a lot worse. # Jake Locker. No offense, Jake. Jake on Jake crime. I'm just trying not to Jake on Jake crime, but Jake Locker. There's guys that have been absolutely projected and have been a lot worse. So I'm with in the chat and people talking about him being potentially a first round draft pick. Jackson Dart, what does it look like with the mercenary incoming of everybody? Quinshon Judkins is a humongous loss for Ole Miss, and him leaving. But let's see how that plays out. How does the Ole Miss expectations play out? Carson Beck. I mean, Brock Bowers is one of the most amazing tight ends, pass and catch tight ends that we've seen in college football in quite a long time. Quinn Ewers, he has lost his top 5 receivers from this past year. Jalen Milroe, new system. Nico and Jackson, same situation where it's a first-year starter. Now this is your job. It's not you coming in for a bowl game that really hasn't, But I really do think that those are questions. Graham Mertz, I think is. You throw in Graham Mertz is a guy who I think he has the quiet opportunity to do something really, really special down in Florida this year. And guess what? He better do it because they have the same situation that Texas has with somebody that they want with DJ Lagway in the back, who everybody wants to see him out there. So what is Graham Mertz going to be able to go from a slightly better, game manager to a playmaker? And does the elevation and responsibility on him, does that make him press? Does that make him, how does he handle any failure? If you see Lagway going over there and, stretching his arm out, how does that, what does that do mentally with him? I think Connor Weigman, he's the one that I really am really interested in seeing what he does. That with a defensive minded staff coming in, he now knows that he's got complementary football potentially happening behind him. They turn over a lot of their skill position too, but they've got a lot of skill position. So Blake Shapen, is this a guy that can make it through a whole season? Is this a guy that is going to be able to show up, because we all saw Blake at Baylor, and Jeff Lebby, we know Jeff Lebby very, very intimately here at Oklahoma. And so these lists continue to come out. And I saw somebody make a comment about, why even make a preseason list? Why? Because it's freaking July and we're 50 some odd days away from football still. And you got to keep the content going. That's why these things happen. Now, if you go and you see these things from anybody who is like love Maroon forever, and he's got, somebody who is a legit quarterback down at the very bottom, now you can just go, forget about this. I think Mike is pretty good guy, pretty credible guy. There's a lot of proof of concept that needs to happen just across this whole list just this year. And, what does Arkansas look like? Because, heck, let's be honest. How long do you play for a coach that is dead man walking? Do they want to do that? Because I think that Gabe and Teddy talked about it, about the NFL a few shows back, but they go into the fact of like, when you have a quarterback that that can take you to the promised land, the locker room's different. And when you got a quarterback that is going to be legit, and a coach that is here for the long haul, you're going to play. So if they start experiencing some failure, what is that looking like? Because that can get scary real fast, because then guys start thinking about the transfer portal. Guys start thinking about bouncing out, because it's just not a great thing. So again, you'll see these lists. Most of them are clickbait. And so, we try as much on the show is, listen, the best way to boost your ratings and the algorithm on Twitter is to make fun of Oklahoma. And that is because this is a passionate fan base, and people are going to hop on there. They're going to click on it, and they're going to go, by God, Jackson Arnold, Jesus, blessed him with his right arm, something like that. Let's just calm down, because the proof of concept is a big deal. Brock Vandagriff was another 5-star quarterback, committed to Georgia, was an Oklahoma guy for half a minute, and then committed to Georgia. That brought in Caleb Williams. The rest is history right there, but that is still a 5-star quarterback. And so, and then, like the SEC shorts, sorry, Diego Pavia, I don't know enough about you to, come back with anything witty for you. You play at Vanderbilt. They had a pretty good offense, early in the season last year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here, because it's going to be something. But
yeah, and real quick because I want to go back to Graham Mertz real quick with Florida. Again, he has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. He's got Elijah Badger coming in the transfer portal, and he's also got one of the top receivers for Florida coming back in Eugene Wilson III. So, and not to mention that offensive line got a huge boost with Jason Zandamela transferring from USC to Florida. And Florida and this is important. I want everybody to remember this. In recruiting, it is important to sometimes be the second team if you are not the first, because Florida got Jason Zandamela from USC to put on their starting offensive line this year, and Cormani McClain.
That's right.
Both commitments, they came in second for it, and they landed them both this cycle.
Yeah, you just got to be careful. The job is never done in this era, because that there's quality in some of these bigger teams, and guys are going to, I just say this is guys like Luther Burton, and I'll just point out him specifically. Luther Burton could have probably transferred before the year last year and gone to somewhere different. And so I got to give props out to him to stick there and trust in what they were trying to do at Missouri. And he knows who he is. And, I say it all the time. If it's Middle Tennessee State or if it's Jacksonville State, wherever you're at, if you are a player, you're going to be able to go to the NFL. These teams, with now the amount of film out there and the social media piece, it is hard to be a good guy and be a good athlete and project towards the NFL and just not get noticed. And if you're, maybe your draft stock does increase just a little bit, but I'm just saying there's still the Patriots of the world. There's still the Oakland Raiders of the world who will go out and find somebody that nobody else really finds as high on their board. Now, the Patriots have done it better than Oakland has. And because if you run a sub 4.3 in Oakland, you're pretty much, Oakland has you as the number 1 or number 2 person on the board. So, and I'm a Broncos fan. So that's we suck. So there's that. I don't know, Jake, with the 5 weeks out going into SEC. I want to kind of wrap it up with this piece, but we're 5 weeks out, 6 weeks out. What are you expecting out of Oklahoma this year? Because, a lot of people want to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think we look at these teams this year, there's a lot of talk of Tennessee. There's obviously Georgia is going to get a ton of, hey, Georgia, that's the team to beat, which I do believe that they're going to be that good. You get the talk of Texas, of course, which will be interesting to see. Alabama with this new team. So I think with Oklahoma, it's an interesting one. They do have a difficult schedule, but at the same time, one thing I have seen is what BV, if you go and you really look at what Brent Venables is doing, right? He brings in Seth Luttrell. Okay, Seth Luttrell. Well, I mean, he was already here last year, right, as offensive analyst, but he promotes him to offensive coordinator, which I absolutely love. I think it's been waiting. Everyone's kind of waiting for him to get there. And the reason I say that is because you have Emmett Jones as your pass game coordinator. Okay, Emmett Jones and Seth Luttrell come from the same system. They both have these Texas Tech backgrounds, but also they understand this more from the passing game, how to be dynamic with that passing game. Emmett Jones has been an offensive coordinator in these different situations, right? With going from Texas Tech back here to Oklahoma, but at the same time with him, and you look at his background in general, the dude produces everywhere he goes. He's under, I cannot remember his name right now, but he went over to Arizona Cardinals as a head coach. Gosh, dang it.
Kingsbury.
Yeah, Cliff. He's over
OC at Washington now.
Yeah, and so he's Cliff is impressive when he's at Texas Tech. Well, that's where Emmett Jones is at, learning this system and style. Not to mention, Emmett Jones has a lot of success when he's coaching high school ball in Texas, hence why he can have these connections and do such a good job in the recruiting background. So BV recognizes these, right? With Seth Luttrell promotion, you see what Seth comes from. And obviously Seth too, what's cool about him is he's an Oklahoma guy, right? He comes back to Oklahoma. He won a national championship. His dad won 2 national championships at Oklahoma. Okay. So not only is there a massive amount of pride, not only is there a massive amount of I want to win for the brotherhood, but there's also this understanding of when he did leave Oklahoma, what he was able to do at North Texas as a head coach, which is even different than offensive coordinator. But when you look at him as offensive coordinator, North Carolina goes 11-1 when he's the OC.
Yeah.
Right? Impressive. Brent Venables is connecting all those dots from the offensive side of things together so that it has a smooth system to run. Now you put Jackson Arnold in a system like that under a quarterback coach who's proven to be a solid quarterback coach with Seth Luttrell, and he's going to set this offense up correctly. Man, you got to be excited, right? Then you look at the defensive side, and that's where I think for me, at least, I'm a defensive guy. I freaking love defense. And when you do look at the defensive side, right, with Zach Alley, okay, Todd Bates, which we all know is phenomenal. Okay, you have Jay Valaya. Okay, I think that's how you say his last name. Miguel Chavez, right, and then Brandon Hall. Okay, interesting enough, with Alley and with Bates, they both come from Clemson. Okay, they both come from this championship Clemson defense, and Clemson was known for their defense. That's what made them win. It's all because of Brent Venables, right? And he has positioned himself with all these dudes in position, right? Not to mention, I like Brandon Hall, but the other guy is Jay Valaya, because you know where he comes from? He has a background at Alabama under Saban, coaching quarterbacks with Nick Saban. You want to talk about understanding somebody put you in a situation when you're running pattern match? Why not coach under the best? And you have all these dudes in place. If you do not think Oklahoma is ready, if anybody sits out there and says Oklahoma's not ready for this schedule, man, get the hell out of here. Go look at these coaches. Go look at what they have in the depth. They've been sitting back there waiting. They knew this move was coming. That's why they hired Brent Venables. It was the team.
Yeah,
man.
it was definitely, and we're going to wrap this up here in half a second here. But my big piece is that they pulled everything out of the closet and they had to get it all out instead of moving one piece out. And then, if you're going to do a remodel, you got to gut the thing. And so now here we go. It's move-in day coming up here 5 weeks from now. So a lot of good stuff is going on. So guys, we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate you, Jake, coming in, and just full disclosure. For some reason, when we set up the record, 60 minutes, it's going to cut off. So so we are like 40 seconds away. So Jake, let them know. No, you're good. You're good. I love hearing you, and we're going to have Jake back on to talk more ball. PG, let them know where they find you, and then Jake, you too.
Yeah, y'all know where you can find me. I'm a regular here. I got a toothbrush in the back room, but you guys can find me, the PG Show, here on YouTube.
Love it, man. Let's set the tone. Alabama college football talk. Come check me out. Appreciate you guys.
Guys, appreciate you again. If you have not already, hit that like button, subscribe, and then you know what? If you got SEC folks, banging on your door saying that Oklahoma's not ready, share this bad boy with them and let them know. So, guys, more content coming this week. Until then, peace.
Peace.